And we're ready to proceed. So, Mr. Washington, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name, your DOC number.
Eric Washington, and my DLC number is 365-751.
Here this morning for a revocation decision. You have a parole revocation questionnaire in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's your signature at the bottom of that page dated October 27th, 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
So for this morning, you do not expect to have counsel with you today.
No, ma'am.
Ready to proceed.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to proceed.
So we're here for a revocation decision. I'll read the allegations against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not. And then
Yes,
after
ma'am.
pleas are entered, we'll have a discussion about it, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 3. You moved from your listed residence without permission from your supervising agent. You secured residence in Houston, Texas, without permission from or notifying the Louisiana Department of Probation and Parole. How do you plead to violating condition number 3?
Not guilty.
Condition number 4, you committed the crimes of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and parole violation on or about June 24th, 2022, but you were arrested by the Alexandria Police Department. Pled guilty to illegal carrying of a weapon, first offense, on October 20th, 2022, and you were sentenced to 4 months parish jail. How do you plead violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Okay, and lastly, condition number 5, you pled guilty to illegal carrying of a weapon, first offense, on October 27th, and were sentenced to 4 months parish jail. How do you to violate number 5?
Not guilty, ma'am.
Okay, well, let's talk about, you pled not guilty to all the violations, but yet you pled guilty in court to illegal carrying of a weapon. So tell us what happened.
Yes, ma'am. I came to see the parole office, and they found the gun inside the car. The gun didn't belong to me, and once I had went to court, I was under the impression that once I get the charge dropped to a misdemeanor, that I got the charge dropped to a misdemeanor, thinking that that was the best decision to make instead of trying to fight the charge. But I had an affidavit saying that the gun was accidentally left in the car, and the gun belonged to somebody else. The gun belonged to my father. He had used the car and left the gun in the car. So I was just trying to get the charge over with, because I was hoping that I would get back out.
What about absconding, moving to Houston without permission?
Well, I never moved to Houston. I still live in Montgomery, Louisiana. When I had talked to the parole officer, she told me that a former employee that I was working for, he had called in and told her that I was living in Houston. Well, I had secured a residence in Houston, which I never was living in Houston. I drove trucks, and I was reporting. I never failed to report. I was still reporting, and I already understood with the parole officer that I had that I was driving trucks over the road.
So you had a vehicle, though, registered to an address on Wooden Pine Drive in Houston.
Yes, ma'am. That address, ma'am.
And that
I didn't hear you, ma'am.
you said you weren't living there, but you had a vehicle registered in Houston.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I bought the vehicle in Texas. So when I bought the vehicle in Texas, it was gonna be too much complications for me to get the vehicle registered down here, because when I had got it, I bought it when I was in Houston.
You met with your agent in
Yes,
June
ma'am.
of 22 when you were at the district office, the probation and parole office in Alexandria.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
told her you had been living in Texas for 3 years.
I never told her that. When I came in to see her on the visit, she put the handcuffs on me and she started telling me stuff, and I was just listening to the stuff that she was telling me. I never had told her that I was living in Houston for 3 years. I've been coming down here report, and in March I had to get my CDL license renewed and my hazmat and my TWIC card and all that. I was living down here. All my mail and stuff, it still goes to 550 Grove Street, Montgomery, Louisiana.
All right, I'm not certain that you're being totally honest with us this morning. As I read the report, when they searched your vehicle,
Yes, ma'am.
Parole,
Yes, ma'am.
it says Washington admitted that he knew the gun.
Ma'am, when she called me in, she put handcuffs on me. I asked her, was I getting locked up? She said she didn't know yet. She asked me, did they have a gun in the car? I looked at her, I told her I didn't know. Then when she said they had a gun in the car, I told her that the gun that was in the car belonged to my father, because that was the only possible way that a gun could be in the car. So as far as when she says that I had admitted to her, I mean, I can only say that she was saying that I admitted because I told her that the gun belonged to my father. He left it in the car, and he wrote an affidavit and everything.
I don't have that information. Mr. Washington, that's all the questions I had. We have some folks here today who want to speak on your behalf, and
That's
we'd
fine.
like now from Mr. Craig McCabe. Yes. Yeah, Mr. McCabe.
Yes, Craig McCabe, I'm here.
Go ahead, sir. We'd like to hear what you want us to know.
Oh, Mr. Washington, he's an employee of mine. He's very detailed person to the key. We have a base out of Houston, Texas, but most of our trucks run in Louisiana a lot. He worked for me for a while. I haven't had no problems with Mr. Washington. Looking forward, hopefully he can come back and work with us. So, if there was any questions about him going back and forth, we're based out of Houston, but we run a lot in Louisiana. So if there's any questions about that, I can confirm or explain that for you.
All right. So what's the name of your company, sir?
The Mile Highway.
The Mile Highway?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your input. We also have Mr. Ken Havard.
Hello, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Great. Thanks for asking. What would you like us to know?
I can say that and during the time I've known Mr. Washington, he's always been a stand-up guy. I've known him to de-escalate a lot of situations as far as just teaching youth, what he has been through, and keeping them from that particular path.
Your association is just a friend of his, or?
Yes, ma'am.
Also?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything you want to say to us? We also have your brother-in-law who is with us, Myron Brown, who is observing, but he's here in support and does not wish to speak. Mr. Washington, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. The first thing I want to say to all of y'all is that my history, a brief introduction to my history. I served 20 years. I went to prison when I was 15 years old. I got out. I got my CDL license, and I was pretty much productive in doing everything that I was supposed to do for 7 years. Being free. I've been working. I've been reporting. Every time they call and ask me to come in, I come in. I report. I pay, and I do everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm asking the parole board, and I'm hoping that y'all are taking into consideration that, I have a TWIC card, I have a CDL license and everything, and I'm just hoping that, y'all take that into consideration, the fact, and not revoke my parole and give me an opportunity to get back out and continue to go to work and be a law-abiding citizen. I mean, I can honestly say that I was a law-abiding citizen. I was doing everything I was supposed to do. So, I mean, the only thing I can say is that I'm at y'all mercy.
Did you, who did you work for before you worked for the Mile Highway?
I had worked for this company called Bullseye Express, and that's who I was driving trucks for. The situation with that, I was working for him. He was asking me to run illegal. It didn't work out. He was a fairly new guy running a trucking company. It's kind of hard to get a work for a bigger trucking company due to my background. But when I gave the guy a shot, working for the guy, it didn't work out. And that was kind of like the situation with that, which from my understanding is how we get to this point right now. I worked for him for about 3 months. I mean, I did my job, but he wanted me to work illegal. So when I had told him that I wasn't gonna run illegal, meaning drive more than the hours of service that I was supposed to drive, that's when it became a problem.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for that explanation. There's some evidence in the record that you and he didn't get along. Actually threatened.
Ma'am,
I'm prepared to vote, Mr. Washington. I do find you guilty of violating condition number 3, 4, and 5 of your conditions of supervision. Based on that, my vote today will be to revoke your parole. Mr. Rocha.
Madam Chairman, my vote is the same for the same reason.
Jackson.
Well, I was willing to give you a shot, Ms. Washington. I've been in a vehicle that you may not have possessed. You haven't committed any other crimes. So my vote would be to do not revoke, but I was only one vote. So my vote would be do not revoke.
So, Mr. Washington, you've received 1 favorable vote this morning, but 2 votes to revoke your parole. So your parole is being revoked this morning. You do have the opportunity to reapply for another hearing. We will send you instructions on doing that. If you'd like to.
so I can apply for another hearing.
There's a waiting period. They'll send you the information.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that seemed expected. Pretty simple. I don't really have much to comment on, but happy to hear your thoughts at the bottom there. I don't know what the waiting period is either. If anyone of you know, please do drop in the comments.